There are objects that do more than simply decorate your living room. They carry energy, they hold intention, and they shape the very atmosphere of your home. Most people surround themselves with things that weaken them without even knowing. But when you place the right element at the heart of your house, darkness cannot stay. Witchcraft loses its grip and prosperity begins to flow like a river. Today, I will show you how one small act of placement can change the destiny of your household. The living room is the first place that carries the story of your household. When a person enters before a single word is spoken, the energy of that space speaks louder than any greeting. It reveals whether the home is heavy or light, whether it is a place of tension or a place of peace. Many people think of the living room as only a room for guests, a place to sit, talk, and pass the time. But in truth, it is far more than that. It is the energetic center of your home, the chamber where the vibrations of your life are gathered and amplified. If the living room is chaotic, the entire household feels unsettled. If it radiates harmony, every person who lives there feels its quiet strength. Think about it. The living room is where families come together, where conversations unfold, where laughter echoes, where silence sometimes settles. It is the meeting point between the outer world and your inner sanctuary. Friends, relatives, and even strangers who enter your home will pass through this space, bringing with them energies, moods, and intentions. And because this room sits at the heart of the home, it absorbs and reflects all of that. It becomes a mirror of how life is moving within your walls. That is why you cannot treat it as ordinary. The living room must be guarded, shaped, and cultivated with awareness, because the energy there will either uplift or contaminate everything else around it. Many times, people unconsciously decorate this space without realizing the deeper impact. A television running endlessly, clutter stacked in corners, objects with no meaning or purpose. These do not just take up physical space, they shape spiritual atmosphere. When the heart of the home is filled with noise, distraction, and confusion, those qualities spread like roots into every room, every person, every moment of daily life. In such a setting, it is easy for external influences, witchcraft, negativity, even envy, to find a resting place, because disorder creates openings where shadows thrive. But when the living room is prepared with intention, when it carries light, clarity, and balance, it becomes a shield. It becomes a sanctuary. The very air feels different. Those who enter sense peace without needing to be told why. It is not about luxury or expensive furniture. It is about resonance. Even something as simple as clean space, natural light, or a symbol of purity placed at the center can shift the entire vibration of the home. Suddenly, the household breathes easier, conversations carry more warmth, and those who carry ill intention feel uneasy in such a place. Darkness cannot dwell where the atmosphere is aligned with light. So when you think of your living room, see it not only as a room, but as the pulse of your home. It is the place where energies converge and flow outward. Shape it carefully, and you shape the destiny of the entire household. Every object that surrounds you is not just an item made of wood, metal, stone, or fabric. It is a container of energy. It carries a history, a vibration, and an influence that either lifts you up or slowly pulls you down. People often underestimate this. They think an object is only an object, that a chair is just for sitting, a picture is just for decoration, a gift is only sentimental. But look deeper and you will realize that everything placed in your environment is speaking to your subconscious and transmitting energy into the space. The question is, what is it saying and what is it transmitting into your life? Walk into a home filled with clutter, with broken items, with objects that nobody cares for, and you will feel a heaviness even before a word is spoken. That is because the objects themselves are carrying the energy of neglect, stagnation, and disconnection. On the other hand, enter a space where each item has been chosen with care, where it carries meaning, harmony, or even beauty, and immediately your body relaxes. You breathe easier. Why? Because the vibration of those objects communicates to you that this is a place of order, of life, of openness. There are objects that radiate positive energy naturally, plants, crystals, sacred symbols, or even family photographs that remind you of love and togetherness. And then there are objects that carry negative weight, items associated with painful memories, things acquired through greed or deceit, decorations that symbolize emptiness or despair without you even realizing it. These are not neutral. They are constantly influencing the flow of energy in your environment and, as a result, in your life. This is why many traditions across the world emphasize purification of the household. It is not superstition. It is recognition of a deep truth, that your surroundings shape your inner state, and your inner state shapes the course of your destiny. When your living room, the energetic center of your home, is filled with objects that carry clarity, strength, and abundance, then that same energy begins to circulate in your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Suddenly, opportunities arise, relationships flourish, and prosperity finds its way in, because the atmosphere is aligned with growth. But if the living room is filled with lifeless, draining, or corrupted objects, it becomes easy for witchcraft, envy, and negativity to hook into that energy and feed on it. This is why awareness is so important. You must ask yourself, why is this object here? What does it represent to me? What does it invite into my home? When you see that every item is a carrier of energy, you stop treating them as lifeless things and begin to recognize them as influences, either allies or obstacles. And once you recognize this truth, you gain the power to cleanse, to replace, and to fill your home with objects that protect, uplift, and overflow with life. It is not only the object itself that holds power, but the reason and the awareness with which you place it. Many people decorate their homes on autopilot, arranging things because they look nice or because someone else gave them. But if the placement is without intention, the object remains dormant, and the energy it could carry is never awakened. On the other hand, when you choose something with purpose and place it in your living room with a clear inner statement, that object becomes more than matter. It becomes a vessel of your will, a living reminder of the direction you want your life to move toward. Intention is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. You could put a plant in the corner of the room without thought, and it would be just a plant. But if you place that same plant while inwardly declaring that it symbolizes growth, renewal, and protection for your home, then every time you pass it, that meaning is reinforced within you. It radiates not only oxygen into the space, but also the vibration of your purpose. The difference is invisible to the eye, but deeply felt by the spirit. This is why rituals across cultures involve symbols, candles, water, or sacred objects. It is not because the object itself is magical, but because the human being activates it through focused intention. The same truth applies to your living room. If you simply fill it with furniture and decoration without awareness, you create a shell that looks complete but lacks depth. But if you approach placement as an act of alignment, then the room becomes alive with meaning. Every item tells a story. Every corner speaks of clarity. Every object serves as a reminder of the energy you wish to cultivate. Witchcraft, negativity, and envy thrive in homes where people live unconsciously, where they do not know why things are there, where the space is filled with random arrangements. But intention acts like fire. It purifies, it empowers, and it seals the room against forces that seek to enter uninvited. The simple act of placing something with awareness creates a barrier. You are saying, this is my space. This is what I allow in. This is what I reject. The object becomes a physical anchor for that declaration. We must understand that the external environment always interacts with the internal state. When you intentionally place something that represents peace, abundance, or divine protection, your mind begins to align with those qualities. And when your mind aligns, your emotions follow, your actions follow, and eventually your destiny follows. This is the chain reaction that turns a simple placement into a transformation. So never underestimate the power of intention. It is the unseen force that activates the seen world, the spark that turns an ordinary object into a shield, a reminder, and a doorway through which abundance can flow. There are certain symbols, certain elements of nature, and certain objects that carry a force far greater than their appearance. They are not chosen because they are fashionable or attractive. They are chosen because they radiate qualities that the human heart recognizes instinctively. When you bring one of these symbols into your living room, you are not simply adding decoration. You are anchoring a spiritual declaration. This home belongs to light. This home belongs to peace. This home belongs to abundance. The presence of such a symbol shifts the atmosphere in ways that words alone cannot. Consider a plant, for example. On the surface, it is only green leaves and roots in soil. But the moment it enters your space, it brings life. It breathes out what you breathe in, and it continues to grow as long as it is nurtured. This is not just biology, it is symbolism. A living plant in your home is a living reminder that growth is possible, that renewal is constant, that life always finds a way. Place it in the center of the living room with the intention that it stands as a guardian of vitality, and it will silently carry that role. Or think of a symbol of light, a candle, a lamp, or even a crystal that reflects and refracts the sun's rays. These objects do more than brighten a room. They carry the essence of illumination. Darkness cannot rule in the presence of light, no matter how small the flame may seem. When such an object is placed intentionally in the heart of your home, it becomes a silent protector. Visitors may see only a lamp, but the atmosphere feels different because it carries the vibration of clarity, of hope, of guidance. There are also symbols across cultures that have long been associated with prosperity and divine protection. A bowl of clean water, for instance, represents purity and renewal. Certain sacred patterns or natural stones represent strength and stability. These are not about superstition, they are about resonance. The human spirit responds to these symbols because they mirror truths that exist in nature and within ourselves. They remind us of what is eternal, and that reminder radiates into the space around them. When you deliberately choose such a symbol for your living room, you are setting the tone for the entire household. You are saying without words that this home is aligned with life, that this home is not open to chaos or destruction, but to growth, clarity, and abundance. Witchcraft and negativity do not thrive in places filled with light, order, and living symbols of prosperity. They shrink back because the energy itself leaves them no space to attach. So do not underestimate the power of placing the right symbol at the heart of your home. It does not only repel what is harmful, it also draws in what is good, allowing your life to overflow with the blessings that such an atmosphere naturally invites. Witchcraft does not always appear in obvious ways. It hides itself in the subtle, in the unseen currents of thought, in the atmosphere that feels heavy without clear reason, in the sudden conflicts that arise within a household for no real cause. Its strength lies in disorder, in confusion, in the shadows where people are unaware of what is happening. This is why aligning your environment becomes such a powerful act. When your living room is arranged with clarity, with light, and with intention, it becomes a place where such forces cannot take root. Witchcraft cannot survive in spaces of awareness and harmony. It thrives only where there is neglect, distraction, or chaos. Think about how the natural world functions. A forest filled with light and movement is alive with growth, with new life sprouting everywhere. But in places where light does not reach, where dead branches and stagnant water accumulate, decay begins. The same principle applies to your living space. When your environment is cluttered, dark, and neglected, it becomes fertile ground for negativity. But when it is aligned, clean, and filled with symbols of life, the energy shifts. Suddenly there is no resting place for shadows. They must leave because the vibration no longer matches their nature. Alignment is not only about physical arrangement, it is about energetic coherence. Every item, every color, every symbol in your living room should support the atmosphere you want to cultivate. If peace is your intention, then the space must reflect peace. If abundance is your intention, then the space must radiate abundance. When the outer environment and the inner purpose match, a frequency is created that is both protective and empowering. Witchcraft, envy, and destructive energy cannot cross such a frequency because it is in complete harmony with higher order. Many people fight against negativity with fear, but fear only feeds what they are trying to resist. A better approach is alignment. When you place objects with intention, when you choose symbols of light, when you maintain order and clarity, you are no longer fighting shadows. You are dissolving them by leaving no space for them to exist. This is how true protection works, not by constant struggle, but by creating an atmosphere where struggle becomes unnecessary. The space itself rejects what does not belong. You may have noticed how some homes feel instantly welcoming, as if joy itself is woven into the walls, while others feel heavy even when nothing is visibly wrong. The difference lies in alignment. One space supports life, while the other has become open to forces that drain it. This awareness shows us that cleansing and aligning our living room is not only about beauty or comfort, it is about protection, about sovereignty, about taking authority over the energy that enters and remains in our home. When the environment is aligned with clarity and purpose, witchcraft has no choice but to flee, and what remains is a sanctuary where the spirit is free and the household flourishes. When the atmosphere of a home is purified, when order replaces disorder and intention replaces carelessness, prosperity begins to flow as naturally as water running downstream. Wealth does not come by force. It is not something to be desperately chased, because the very act of chasing often pushes it further away. True prosperity is invited, welcomed, and allowed to circulate by creating the right conditions. Just as seeds will not grow in dry, barren soil, abundance will not take root in a space clouded by heaviness or spiritual interference. But when the soil is rich, when the air is clean, when the environment is aligned, growth is inevitable. A living room that radiates harmony and light becomes like fertile ground for abundance. The energy that circulates there influences the thoughts, emotions, and decisions of everyone who enters. When a person feels peace in their home, they make clearer choices in their life. They see opportunities that others overlook, they act with confidence instead of fear, and they attract people and situations that align with their inner state. Prosperity is not only money, it is also the flow of right people, right moments, and right ideas into your life. Money is simply the physical expression of that flow. When the center of your home carries the vibration of abundance, even visitors can feel it. Some will leave inspired, sensing the uplift in their spirit. Others who carry envy or malice will feel uncomfortable, because the atmosphere itself rejects what they bring. In both cases, the energy of the household remains intact, and prosperity continues to grow. This is why abundance is not about accumulating more things, but about sustaining a state of openness where blessings can enter freely and without resistance. Wealth that is forced often disappears quickly, because it is not supported by the right foundation. But wealth that flows into a life where the environment is aligned becomes lasting. It does not create stress, it creates expansion. It does not breed fear of loss, it strengthens the sense of security. This is the kind of prosperity that turns a house into a place of overflow, where not only the family is sustained, but where generosity naturally extends outward. In such a space, money is not a burden to guard, but a resource that multiplies because it is aligned with higher order. The more aligned the atmosphere, the more effortless the flow becomes. Opportunities come not as accidents, but as natural consequences. Relationships strengthen not through force, but through resonance. Life begins to mirror the inner and outer harmony of the home, and as abundance overflows, it reminds you that prosperity is never about possession. It is about alignment. When the living room is set as a sanctuary of light and clarity, prosperity does not need to be pursued. It simply arrives, fills the space, and continues to overflow.